of you want to do things right? To keep up with keeping your lives tight. Tight as in being right with the truth of true insight. Who of you want to do things right? Who of you want to truly succeed in attaining all in that which is your need? To be heard by the real answerer of all deeds, the true hero of all whom pleads. Who of you really want to bow down to the true King of Kings commanding the crown? To worship the one that ever rules alone, commanding everything of creation from the seat of its throne.
It is about your presence. To those in our audience, we'll continue. Lord Holy-Apostle Deen, may I use peace and blessing be with you.
May I use peace and blessing be with you about your presence.
We're talking about the true misrepresentation of the universal religion of truth. The term which is spoken in English, but known by names historically as Islam, the way, and the like. You know, you indicated that you told us it is the one thing. It represents the one thing that all people of all makes, who are at war with each other, still worship whether they recognize it or not. You know,
the thing that was prophesied 2,000 years ago, the thing that was prophesied 5,000 years ago. But because we're in a Christian society, we always talking about John's revelation. I mean, Jesus' revelation to John and the other disciples that they recorded and wrote down, and people have given them credit for it. But John's revelation is Jesus' revelation. The revelation, L's revelation to Jesus, which he spoke to them, and then they recorded it. Those same revelations was given to prophets 5,000 years ago among the Hindus and the Buddhists. That's what the Avatar is all about. The Avatar is the messenger of Allah, sign of the Savior, the chosen one. Same thing. You know, and the thing about it is, people they have associated Jesus with Christ to the point that the thought of Christ has been lost. They don't realize that Christ is the crusher, the all-powerful manifester of life, and all-powerful sustaining, all-powerful destroyer. It don't just destroy and crushes, but it brings life back. It revolutionizes and revive and resurrect. And that's what it do when you go into the heavens of the Christ, into its light. It draws you. You can't go in there, but it brings you into it. And then it does these things and giving you a new birth, reverberating you and manifesting you anew into a new person. Where it takes away all that you have learned to form yourself to where you have reached, to bringing you into the purity of it, crushing and burning and annihilating all the impurities of your being, and taking you away from your faults and being accused of doing things where people are judged for what they do. You're no longer to be judged for what you do, because you have no authority over yourself now. You're a soldier, you're a slave, you're an immediate member of the Lord El. You see? Now, in this Christ, people forget and they don't even realize that Christ is the Lord of hell. No one ever associate Christ with hell, because the devil don't want you to understand what Christ truly is. Allah said in the Holy Quran, don't snort too loud, dear. Wake up with us. We should have turned the camera on, and she's so relaxed because the camera's not on, and she's just like, oh, I'm in heaven. He talking about heaven and Christ. Oh, yeah.
The words are such that it takes you.
You've explained to us before plenty of times that L is in the middle of the word hell.
Yes, yes, and it's also in the word in the middle of self. You know, when these words were devised, they were devised with L in mind. They knew. You know, El is the creator of these words, actually, and he put these words in man to be expressed. But the thing about it is that I remember this guy. I've said this before. He came to our community. He wanted to find fault in me. Brother Nuruddin Abdul Bassett brought him to us, and to see about bringing me down. It was always about bringing me down. And this brother Abdul Samad stayed in my mouth. And I used to ask Allah, why, Father? Why is this man all down my throat? I feel like he's just touching my tonsils. And Ahezaah said, he wants to find you wrong. And he's so enthusiastic about it that he can't help forgetting looking you straight down your throat. He said, it says, but I got something for him. And one day I was speaking, or Allah was speaking through me, and it said that the angels were created of light and fire. And he said, Astaghfirullah, no, the angels were created of light, pure light. It says it in the Holy Quran. And as I was speaking, I said, oh Allah, why you cause me to say that? That's not in the Quran. And Allah said, fear not. Remember, where there's light, there's fire. And where there's fire, there's light. Must I say everything? You know, and then it gave me a whole lesson for even feeling that thought in my mind, oh, why you let me be incorrect in front of this brother? But I wasn't incorrect because Allah was speaking. I wasn't incorrect, but I just felt like, oh, he got something now. But Allah explained it very clearly while I was holding that same conversation, because Allah knew what the deal was with him. And then later Allah explained to me about the Christ. The Christ, there's two sides to everything. Allah manifests two sides to Himself in all ways. And the Christ don't have one side. The Christ is in heaven and in hell. The Christ is the crusher in heaven of the good, that it manifests bringing purity to the good and destruction to those who come up into it that's not right. And it manifests its crushing in hell, in the fire of hell. And there's light in hell too from that fire. But it's a murky light because of the ashes and the smoke and, you know. I mean, just think of that. Demonstrate within your own mind what comes about when you set fires ablaze. You know what I'm saying? Sure. And that's the opposite side. In the heavens, the light is so pure and so clean, and you would not even believe it's light. It's like it's alive. It's no light like it on earth. It's no light like it in this realm of being, in this dimension. It's so pure. You know? And it really is impossible for me to explain it. You have to see it yourself. You ever seen crystal clear water? Huh? You have.
Sure.
Because we went to the caverns. And we seen crystal clear water that came through the mountains, through the earth. And it was untouched by anything except the filtering of the mountain. And it laid in them caverns down beneath the ground, and it was so clear. You would want to drink it. I wanted to drink some. I just wanted to taste it, but I said no.
Maybe they made such a clear reflection until we thought there was actually mountains underneath.
Yeah, you never seen it so clear. Mirror clear water.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Mirror clear water.
It was awesome because you
would not believe it. And that's the way this light, the closest I could say to this light, man, it's so clear, it's like water, it's unbelievable. See, Allah, Ahezaah, is the most unbelievable thing. It is, because it is the most unlike any other thing. Nothing is like it. So it's the most unbelievable. People always disbelieve it. Believers disbelieve it.
That's what Abraham was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of people didn't look into the deepness of what Abraham was trying to. Yeah,
they was only looking at the figures, the forms of the things.
But Abraham realized, like, this is beyond me being able to label it, to capture it. Yeah. It is. It just is, you know. And I thought about that today. It was because we have a puppy around here, and I thought about how Allah gave life to humans and animals in different stages. Like a dog don't live past a certain amount of years, but the dog could go and have reproduce, and go through the family structure in a shorter period of time, and it gives human beings a longer period of time. And then, I was just, figuring out, and I'm like, wow, who in the world would have ever sat back and thought if man, because, man don't believe that a law exists. I'm like, how these people think this came about? Because they always trying to give, trying to put a label on how these things have came into existence. How human beings come into existence. I was like, okay, you're trying to figure this out, but what about these animals and how they survive and they relate? I said, wow.
I think what you're trying to say, because you said a lot and then say nothing.
You understand what I'm saying?
I understand what you're saying because I'm relating to what you're saying by knowing what I've seen and what we've talked about before. But what she's saying is she's coming to this awareness about dogs having minds. And people saying that, many Muslims saying dogs don't have souls and they curse. And that's why Ahezaah commanded that I have them, so to tell the people that's a lie that they've put on these dogs. You're not cursed. They're not a cursed creature. You understand? These things have minds and they have souls and they have ideas and they have thoughts of their own. They have emotions. They have bad tempers and good tempers. They have reasons for doing the things they do. We just don't relate to those things on our level. We don't go down to their level. A lot of us push them dogs aside and other animals aside and treat them with disrespect, the same as we would human beings, and the same as we do with the Lord El. Many people disrespect El and treat it like it's not even in existence.
Right.
But it has manifested signs of itself on all things.
Right.
That's what I try to explain to people. They always want to find miracles like something appearing out the blue or, just anything sensational. But I'm like, look at the planet you live on. We live on a rock that produces vegetables and all that. We got a fireball in the sky and a rock in the sky is a moon with new strings attached. So like that's a miracle in itself. Every day is a miracle.
Let me tell you something.
Let me just don't realize that Ahezaah is always real.
The miracle
Let
of
me
their
tell
own
you
heart.
something.
Man, like.
You don't even have to go to a rock, man. When they say stuff like that, say, nigga.
Right.
That's a miracle. Because that's part of what's keeping us alive. Now, if the A.H.A.D take that away from you, you gonna die. Huh? You don't have to go far to see the miracle of El, the presence of El. That's evidence of El right there. We are in the essence of El. An atmosphere that we breathe is part of its essence. If it take that away from us, we die. You don't have to go far.
It's so strange that
go to your breath.
It's so strange, Lord. The very people in the science community, the ones who go out there and they identify the numerous miracles, all the miracles.
More of my book from what Allah said. Now they talking about they're discovering that the solar plexus is connected with the soul of man because of these emotions that come down, and and it's a shame that the government is doing that, taking bits and parts of this book, The Secret Government, taking bits and parts of the Divine Book of Recitation that they have in the Library of Congress and putting it out, little things they putting out so the people would disbelieve when they hear this, but it doesn't matter because, like Allah said to me this morning, said they're not ready to hear you yet, and I said, right, they're not ready to hear you yet. Eventually they're gonna be ready. It's gonna be terrible, and they're gonna be ready to hear you.
Another misconception about the universal religion of truth, like. People think they hear you and they think like you're coming down with a new religion, and people before think that Islam's a new religion.
And it's
not realizing that it's all from the same.
It's just a reverberation. It's just another announcement of the old thing. I'm speaking this language of Islam, the universal religion of truth, in English, and I'm interpreting in English. to our people and to the mindset of the English knowers and people who live this English life, so that, you know, the chosen in this land on the east, where the sun is rising in the west, will understand and have the opportunity to accept Allah's words, its new covenant and its messenger, you know. And there's no compulsion in this thing, but the Lord, it's going to destroy a lot of people before a lot of people decide they're going to listen, you know. But when the terror gets to be to a point where you know you have no win in it and it is coming for you, you know, I've had a lot of people turn to me and say, I want to be your friend, after they wanted to be my enemy for so long, you know, because they seen the terror coming at them and they want to repent for fear of death and going to hell. See, one thing about the atheists and the disbelievers, they can't get away from the truth of their own soul. So in the ultimate end, they gonna call on Ah. They gonna call on the Ah, El. And they gonna call on the Savior. They gonna fear the Christ of El. Excuse me.
They're gonna recognize it, and they're gonna recognize what they're calling.
They gonna recognize what they're calling, because their soul gonna make them recognize it. You know? Many of them, sometimes, many of them atheists and what have you, call on it in this life, and then they say, whoa, did you hear what I did? I can't be doing that. Because I don't believe. What would make me call on that? It's inherent.
Yeah.
If people knew that Ah was the greatest name of the Lord El Ah, a lot of them would try to not say Ah. They can't help it. They can't help for saying Ah. And see, a lot of people, Christians and Muslims and Jews and what have you, they would like to shut me down about this truth of the Ah, but they can't get around it.
Well, you better not go to Pakistan.
Even Kirk, Captain Kirk, said he was speaking a universal language. Ah!
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
When people come to an understanding
Written
about
by
something,
probably an
understand.
atheist.
There you go.
Yes.
Say Ah, like when
Right.
you
Yeah.
understand about something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
In all phases.
Yeah, you can't help it. It's instinctive, man. You know, Allah gonna call itself.
You know, misrepresent
Do you?
the universal religion, but the people who come in, they misrepresent what the universal religion of truth meant in past times. I remember a person now addressing me some time ago prior to me meeting you, getting an opportunity to meet you, and they were very concerned about you writing another Quran.
Yeah.
You know, this person describes as he's writing another Quran, you know.
No, I'm right. I was writing something more than the Quran. So you could dial them up and say, you know what? You was almost right. The Lord then gave him 3 times the Quran.
But that's this, you know, it's just strike me, even then, like you're not recognizing what the Lord El is capable of, even in that. So until you give it fair investigation as to what you're talking about, because it was a bit disconcerting at the time, you know, but still you have to be balanced to know that initially you have to know that the Lord El is endless. It's independently endless.
And it's merciful that it's sending down its words in English. That's mercy for the people. Those who curse me, they cursing the mercy that is manifesting through me by sending this book down. I never claimed to be the author of the book.
But this is the other.
And I got witnesses that will tell you when these words come down. One book we got, what, in a month, in 30 days, 500 and some odd pages? And you could look at it and you wasn't going to find no mess in it. And I was in awe myself. But I tell people, oh, it's easy for me because I'm not writing it. I mean, I'm not the author of it. I'm not creating it. I'm not producing it. I'm being written through. I'm a pen of Allah. A pen of Ahezaah. It writes through me. Therefore, I have no weight on my head in putting these words down. My only problem is keeping up with what it's giving me. Because sometimes you couldn't tell me I didn't write the whole sentence. And I go back and words missing. I'm like, how that happened? I swore I wrote that whole sentence down, that whole paragraph. Oh, Allah forgive me. And it says, son, I forget nothing. Don't worry. It ain't lost. You'll get it. And I go back weeks later, months later, and write stuff and switch it over. Boom. Oh, piece of the puzzle. Boom, right there. So it shows me, manifest to me, and make me a witness of it, even in what I write. That I'm not the one. That it is the one. And I bear witness to that.
And also, brothers, I can testify. I've heard the divine book of recitation be recited, and that's nothing no man wrote. You know what I'm saying? I can tell by the way it's like you read Quran, and you know that that's divinely inspired. That's from Allah. That's the same way it is with the divine book of recitation. Yeah. And I can bear witness to that. No man wrote that book.
Yeah. And the funniest thing is that you have some people like we encountered this individual. You have some people that believe that there is a messenger prophet to come, or there may be a messenger prophet here today, but they be like, can't be you.
Can't be you.
Because in their mind, they are picked. And they have an idea of what this prophet is supposed to be.
Or has that been the case that it's been picked for them by the different pictures that they've seen in the movies or the pictures or whatever?
Because we experienced this brother. And I said, you know, I laugh because I find things very funny. I don't take offense to it like I used to. I just like brush it off, so to speak. You know, I spoke to this brother, and I started speaking to him first, and I found out that I knew his uncle who played with Islam. I mean, really played with Islam. He don't play with Islam so much that Allah don't let have caused him to have 2 strokes.
Boy,
you know, he one of them brothers that be like, yeah, Akeed, Shaq. But then you know, I go to find out from people I deal with at work and stuff. He in the bar with them, eating all kinds of stuff, drinking and partying, hitting on them, buying fur coats and doing all this stuff. Won't conduct his business right. Be beating people for their money and what have you, you know, and the Lord stroke him up twice. You know, he got this nephew who I didn't know was his nephew when I was talking to him, but then when I was telling the nephew about Allah being present in this day and has sent a messenger prophet, so forth and so on, and then I started telling him, you know, then he reminded me that I knew his uncle, that he knew me. And I said, oh, your uncle, and I said, you know, your uncle, I've been trying to call him to right. He like, yeah, I know, he be ripping people off. Know all these negative things about his uncle, right? And then, you know, the Holy Apostle started speaking to him, told him that he was the chosen one this day. And he said, hey, I don't have to believe you, but I will respect you, right? So that was cool. You don't have to believe, but I told him, you know, check out some things. You know, that Allah sent down, because I ain't got time to sit up here and try to convince you. That's not my responsibility. And in the midst of this conversation, he was talking about how Muslims, because he got dreads and everything, they won't acknowledge him as being Muslim. They won't give him the peace and everything like that. Lord, behold, a week or so went by, and
he must have spoke to his uncle.
He must have spoke to his uncle. Now he ain't speaking to us. You know? And my whole thing is, I wasn't trying to sell him on this. I was just telling him that Allah is present. And this doesn't happen. We've been forewarned, and this is going to happen. So he'll see for himself. But I just laugh because, you know, I laugh because I said he was talking about how Muslims start speaking to him. So now he done got to the point that
now he's judging us.
Now he's judging us.
Yeah.
And probably listening to his stroked out uncle that talking out the side of his mouth. You know what I'm saying? So people, they can believe that Allah is sending is a messenger here, but they have picked and choose what this messenger is going to be like. Don't curse.
Well, it's like
and put in a Buddha position and what have you.
It's like the people in the final call.
And when he urinates, it's all pure. And when he goes to the bathroom, it's all pure. And, you know, because even people that was with us at the beginning, You know, they was like really like.
You don't talk like that. I'm the one talk like that.
You know.
They said Jesus and John ate and drank like everybody else. So if you eat and drink, that means you're gonna
like everybody.
Yeah, you're gonna.
Jesus had an investment in wine too, didn't he?
You know, the prophet sneezed one day. They was like, "Oh, that was a holy sneeze." Like, okay.
But you know what? I think one of the dramatic things that I can point to is that Final Call organization, who literally wrote after we went to visit them, wrote that we can believe in a messenger that was here and one to come, but we can't believe in one that's here. Now, they are the ones that's saying they behind Elijah Muhammad waiting for the chosen one to come. But the chosen one got to be Farrakhan or somebody in Farrakhan's bloodline.
If that was the case, Elijah would have chosen before he died.
Before he passed.
It ain't like Elijah lost his voice before he died.
Yeah.
So we were talking about cults before, but it seems like each new cult tries to become the orthodox. You want to try to become the mainstream.
Yeah.
It is what I say it is, and
Right.
you know, follow it. And if you come outside of that, you're a heretic, or you're out of order.
But it's easy to be a disbeliever. Like I said, Ahezaah is the most unbelievable thing that is. You know, Allah is the most unbelievable because it's the most unlike anything else. It's a thing that's nothing is like. You know, and it does all these impossible things that are impossible for all its creatures to do. So you got people who will have doubt and want to disbelieve about it until something is impressed upon them personally to make them say, I believe. You know, and we have people that has come to this community. This community been full of disbelievers. I mean, I've spoke to tens of thousands of people. You would not believe it because you don't see 100 around me. But you would say, I bear witness. You know, a lot of them said, I bear witness. You know, I was told by a person that I'm her lifeline. But Ahezaah gave her commandments that, in regards to me, that she would not fulfill. But she says she's a believer and I'm her lifeline. And that sounds like a conflict of interest. It sounds like a contradictory of her heart, her mind, her words, her actions. Because if you're a believer, you're going to do what Allah commands you to do. You're going to break your back to do it. Huh? Because you will put Ahezaah Allah first before your own self. And people don't understand what belief is. That's why Ahezaah said, don't say you're a believer. You've yet to come to believe. You don't understand what belief is. You don't know what belief is. You won't know to believe Allah until you know Allah. And people still grappling throughout life about what do the Lord mean? He who knows himself knows the Lord, and he who knows the Lord knows himself. Am I God? I can't be God. How could you know? And then others say, I know God. I am God. Because I know myself. Knowledge is a heavy thing. A knowing for real is a very deep thing. Knowing is basically absolute. Not guesswork, not almost there, absolutely there. Absolutely there. You can know Allah in what Allah gives you to know of it. But you can never know it absolutely. And it tells you that. If you say, you can never know Allah. Yes, you can. If it deemed that you know it, you know it. Who are you to say that it can't make its creatures know it? Knowing, knowledge is experiencing. You can experience it, and it can bring you to a clear awareness of it, a clear reality of it, a clear life of it, touching you in a real way that is effective upon you, where you cannot deny that you know it. So therefore, you know it if it wills for you to know it. Just like it's time for us to go.
Who of you want to do things right? To keep up with keeping your lives tight. Tight as in being right with the truth of true insight. Who of you want to do things right? Who of you